Well, guys, I know you're used to and excited for your normal Wednesday live stream, but I'm out of character. I'm out of the shop, and I'm actually coming to you guys from CnB Reptile in Phoenix, Arizona, my favorite captive bred only reptile shop with that has its actual very own Reach Out Reptiles whole section. So today's video, we have a special guest. Actually, I guess I'm the guest, but in the video's guest is going to be Bill Cavender, the owner of CnB. He is the B in CnB, and I think he's just the bee's knees. So we're going to actually answer some of your questions from previous videos and rap about that. Enjoy. Well, Bill, we have the people's questions. All right, Bill's going to be the voice of the people tonight. You ready for this?
Are we starting?
Yeah.
Okay.
We started.
Let's start over.
Hey guys, this is Bill Cavender, and he is here to be the people's voice tonight.
That's right. I'll be asking Garrett some questions from some videos that have been asked in the past.
We'll see if he has any input or anything, and it'll be good to go.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
I am.
I'm excited. It's been too long since you've been on the channel.
I know. I'm excited too.
You don't come visit anymore.
No,
Except to come pick out cool retics and leave.
I know. Well, I'll be there for Retic Fest.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, come see a retic fest. I'm gonna pull one of your retics out while you ask the first question.
Yeah.
All right, what's the first question?
Okay, our first question is it possible to get a reach out for around $300?
You want to answer that one, Bill?
I don't think so. I think you would have to spend a little bit more than that to get in on a base model, but I leave that to Garrett to see what he thinks.
I think you refer to it as a base model.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if we have like dwarf wild type crosses, a lot of times those males start like 350, 400. It's about the cheapest. And then, you know, if you need it shipped, a lot of times that's up to like $100. Mm-hmm. So that's about the lowest that you can get into one of our.
So maybe like 450 shipped.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
But you got to be there right at the right time or get on a waiting list for it.
Right.
So look at this beautiful Super Dwarf purple. I guess you've looked at it before.
Oh yeah, I've seen it one time or two. He used to be a little spicy.
Yeah?
He's calmed down though.
Yeah. Well, I've been fondling him all day, so maybe he'll bite me for you guys in the video.
Yeah.
Make it more exciting. All right, what's the next question?
Next question. How can you check a snake's personality if you don't meet it in person?
That's kind of a tough one. I mean, I think if you are talking to whoever's selling the retic, I would hope that if you're buying from somebody you trust, like I know that Bill would do this for you guys. If someone saw one of yours and they wanted you to have you ship them one of these snakes and they came to you and said, listen, I really want like a super tame one or whatever, something that's really used to being handled. You just said yourself, like, you know these snakes. You're like, that one used to be spicy and he's growing out of it.
Right.
Somebody that's selling the snakes can relay that information. You just have to go with somebody you trust.
Right.
I know we would be happy to do that. A lot of times people don't even ask, and so we'll sell them a snake based on whatever their criteria is, like size, price, color, whatever. But if temperament is in the criteria of snake that you're specifically looking for, mention it and they would do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know I would.
You would do it, I would do it for sure.
Too easy.
Go through our collections and figure out what would be the best fit for you.
Yeah, maybe even get a little video. I don't think it would be fair to say, can you videotape all your snakes and send it to me? But if you were buying one and you just wanted to make sure it was friendly before you got it, have them send a little video like this guy or something so you can see.
Yeah, absolutely. We do that all the time.
Yeah, cool.
Next question, super dwarf math. I've noticed that some breeders are incorrectly calculating the percentage of super dwarf in their lines.
Oh yeah, this actually happens a lot. So the way that you get, like if you're crossing super dwarfs, you have to add each locality percentage from the two parents and then divide by 2. So you're taking the average. In other words, if you have a 0% super dwarf like a mainland and 100% super dwarf, you know, 0 plus 100 is 100 divided by 2 is 50. Or if you had two 50% super dwarfs breed together, then that's 100 added together divided by 2 is 50. What happens, I think, a lot of times is people will breed two like 25% super dwarfs and then say the babies are 50%.
Yeah.
Have you seen that too?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. You have to be able to take a simple average But again, if you go with like somebody that sells dwarf and super dwarf occasionally or on the side, they may not be that good at that. But if you go with someone that specializes in it, they're gonna know how to do that. So just, I mean, you want to buy your stuff from the best anyways, at least I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, this next question comes in, super dwarfs versus Timor pythons. Since they're the only other snake in the Malapython genus, it would be extremely interesting to compare and contrast the two.
Yeah, I do think that that would be cool. I love Timor pythons, but so you guys have a lot of these kind of like specialty pythons or whatever you want to call them around the shop. Like I saw some little children's pythons, you got some womas, things like that that go beyond the standard like ball python or boa constrictor, right?
Right.
And sometimes there's a reason they're not as popular a pet.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I think Timors are like that. They're amazing. Very exotic, super cool. Few people breed them. Some of them have these like crazy emerald colored eyes that I love. They look like a crocodile's eyes. Pattern is cool. But when you pick them up, they're like a short, stumpy retic that likes to pee on you. Even the ones that don't bite you every single time, the ones I'm experienced, they'll pee on you a lot.
Yeah.
And so you have to be more about the fact that you have like an exotic animal than for a pet. That'd be my general thing, but maybe we could do a whole video comparing them because I like that idea. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think it would be cool. I'd like to watch it. I'd like to get a Timor in the shop actually.
Yeah.
I've never had one.
Yeah, well, you guys do captive bred only, so good luck. I mean, they're out there, but not a lot of people are breeding them.
That is one problem with captive bred only. I don't want to say a problem per se, but there are certain things that we just can't get that really aren't readily available as captive. So that if one downside to being captive bred is that.
So maybe you guys do need to start breeding some more like extracurricular species.
Yeah.
So the CnB can buy their babies.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Wow. Okay. My sister is rubbing its face on mine. It seems like how a cat would rub on you to show affection. It just started this today. Does it mean anything bad?
First of all, if your sister is rubbing her face on you, you gotta tell her to stop. That's just weird. I would assume they're saying like my sister's snake or something.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah, I think they missed a word there.
You know, the only time I see them really rubbing, especially if you mentioned they just started today, it could be literally that they're in blue and they're trying to shed.
Right.
They're trying to get that off, or sometimes they get like a little piece of dirt in their mouth and they gotta rub it. You know, if it was something that they were doing it frequently for a long time, that might be a little bit strange, but if you give it time and it goes away, I would say it's not that weird. Unless you are talking about your sister, then it's definitely weird.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe she's French, doing a little, you
Yeah,
know, like
maybe.
reading thing. She
Maybe.
could. Your sister might be French. Check and make sure.
Hey Garrett, if you had to choose between Kalatoa and Tombolongan to breed, which locality would you choose and why? Unfortunately, Kalatoas aren't so popular here in Germany because people think that they aren't that pretty, unlike the Tombolongans or their cousin mainlands.
Well, you need to tell your German friends to not be so close-minded, first of all. You need to see the beauty in all things, Germany. Come on, guys. Honestly, I couldn't choose, and that's why I do work with both. I've never bred Tombolongan. We have Tombolongans. It's one of the species that we really want to work with, but here in the US, they're exceedingly rare. You guys are lucky in Germany because Karsten Wollner was like the original importer of all those Tombolongans, and so you guys probably have a better representation out of them, although I bet yours are related to mine because mine hail back to Karsten as well. They're just very different snakes. You know, they're from different subspecies, and I don't know, if you had to do just one to breed and work with, it's got to be a personal preference. Kalatoa should be smaller, so that might impact your view. But Tombolongans are known for like the heavy blacks, the chunky yellow heads. They're very unique here in America, and a lot of people really want to get them. I know that because I'm not breeding them, and people ask me all the time. I'm like, let me make some for myself, and maybe I'll share. you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's up to you. They're very different snakes. They're super cool. Tombolongans are going to be a little bit bigger. Kalatoas are going to be a little bit smaller. But I would want both. Oh man.
Here it goes. You're christened.
A little drip system here. Good thing you have the polished cement. Okay, this guy's had enough. Let's pull another one. I don't know. They're pretty cool. Tom Longers are rare both places, I think. So, Calatos, you might have better access to bloodline. Tom Long, and you might be the cool kid on the block. What's our next question there, Bill?
Hi Garrett, I have a question. Since you're a breeder and I'm not yet, how big is a super dwarf retic clutch?
Ooh, well, that's kind of broad, depending on your. Look at this guy. You told me how pretty this guy was, and you were right.
He's gorgeous.
Like full, perfect dorsal black stripe, little dwarf and super dwarf tiger, and this guy's 2 years old.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Tiny. So depending on what you're calling super dwarf, like if you're saying pure Calato or Carrampa, for example, you're looking at like 6 to maybe 20-ish eggs. If you have a really super obese one, you can get a little bit more than 20. But if you're talking about like super dwarf crosses, and you're including anything that's 50% super dwarf and above, now you open that range up from like 6 to 60, maybe. So it just kind of depends. So, yeah.
Okay, so it's broad.
It's broad. Our typical clutch size for like high percentage super dwarf crosses is usually around like 16 or so. It's a good average. Works well in Punnett squares. That's kind of our assumption number. Unless we're working with really tiny bloodlines, we'll go lower. Hi, cutie.
Next question here. I have 1 ball python, 1 boa, and 3 retics.
Good ratio.
All are under 2 years old, except the boa turned 2 a few weeks ago. All are females except 1 retic is a male. Is it safe to handle them together or let them explore together? Is it okay to have them together in a controlled environment?
Ooh, what would you say? So I know that you like handle your retics all the time. Twice a day, extended periods of time. You even have playpens and stuff that you put them in.
That's right.
Like your personal ones.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever put multiple species together when you do that?
No, I just keep the retics with the retics.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never done that.
I mean, I don't think that the snakes would probably have an issue with each other any more than 2 retics would, really. I guess for me, I'd be more concerned about like cross-contamination. You have 3 different continents, you know what I mean, involved there, different pathogens and stuff. But truthfully, I mean, you guys have a bunch of different species here in the pet store. They're all captive bred. You guys quarantine on the way in and everything. If you've had the animals together for a long time, they're all healthy, I think you could. I mean, we're not talking about cohabbing here. We're just talking about like handling.
Hanging out.
Here's one and here's one, you know. Let me go get one of your boas and we'll find out.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's find out. What's the next question?
Next question. This is from the video, My Beef with Freedom Breeder Reptile Racks.
Okay.
Well, since it's been 2 years ago, has anyone come up with any ideas?
Okay, so I think what they're talking about was the idea of making an arboreal rack. Freedom Breeder actually did make me, based on that video, I called him out. I was like, why don't you make arboreal racks? He seems nervous.
He does.
Your boas will get nervous. That's the conclusion from our small, limited scope experimentation. Hi, buddy. Yeah, we were trying to build arboreal racks. I don't think anyone's actually made like a commercial solution. They did do a prototype for us, which was pretty cool. It wasn't like a finished product or anything, but it was neat for us to try it. I loved having a pull-out tray to clean under a big arboreal enclosure.
Sure.
Here, I'll trade you over this guy. Yeah. Which was super cool, and I definitely think somebody should do it. But shortly after that video, COVID hit, supply chains went crazy, development of new stuff actually exponentially increased, but not amongst large large manufacturers. I think they were just trying to honestly stay open and
yeah,
keep staffed and all the problems that came with that. So
right.
Yeah, there you go. Boa, retic. They didn't kill each other, although the boa doesn't seem to like it very much.
The retic's kind of just oblivious to it.
It could be me. Could be the boa doesn't like me, and I just blame everything on the retics. It's just kind of my MO anyways. All right, what's the next question? I'll pull another snake out. We'll give them all some exercise tonight.
All right, let's do it. Okay, I was using bulbs, red and white, and Python moved to hot and cool side perfectly. Changed to a heat pad, and she hasn't gone to the hot side in 2 weeks. Any thoughts, or am I overthinking it?
So
Do you have it hooked up to a thermostat?
ooh, yeah, I think you're going down the same angle I was taking. Why do you say that? You probably
If
see
it's
this
way
stuff
too,
like this a lot. in your
yeah,
pet
just
shop.
today. Remember, somebody came in today and they had their heating pad, but they didn't have it hooked up to a thermostat. And she goes, "It's too hot, and the snake won't go over there." Well, yeah, you need to hook it up to a thermostat so you can keep it at the constant temperature you're looking for. And another thing, we've had some customers that came in and they didn't use the probe properly, so they would have an issue with their snake, again, getting way too hot because they didn't follow the instructions. We try to educate everybody when they come out of here, but we told them, but it just didn't happen. The snake didn't die, but they had an issue, you know, so.
Yeah, and I would kind of tend to agree with what Bill is saying here, that if your snake's never going on the hot side, your caging is probably hot overall. And one of the most valuable tools you can get besides the thermostat so you can control it is like a temperature gun.
Yeah, they got
Right.
one right over there.
Yeah, so instead of having, like a lot of people will just put like a sticker thermometer on the cage and be like, it's one temperature in the air. But you want to be able to see, yeah, that's it. Point and shoot, push the button, tells you what temperature it is right here where the snake's sitting, on the hot side, on the cold side, up on the perch. And then, you know, again, like these are a little more expensive than those, but you need one for your whole collection.
Right.
So it's really not that expensive, and it's a really good tool.
And it could be a lifesaver for your snake too.
Absolutely. So get a point and shoot thermometer, check all those temps, and if you have a good gradient where the cool side's nice and cool, for like super dwarves, you're looking at mid 70s, and then the hot side is nice and warm, like mid 80s, maybe even 90. At like if you have like a perch right under the bulb, 90 would be great. Then I think you'll start to see that back and forth movement.
Right.
Cool. This is a beautiful anery. Look at the pattern.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah. I like anery.
I know you do.
Yeah, it's like my favorite.
So would a purple phase Clark bred to an orange glow still produce albinos?
Yes. So orange glow is allelic. It's kind of like an orange glow. You can think of it, more people know how lavenders work, where a lavender is like white phase and purple phase together. So Indo-caramel is what makes orange glow. It's another strain. You got whites, you got purples, you got Indo-caramels. They all work the same. So the name orange glow means it got the Clark strain albino from one side, the Indo-caramel from another side. So you got albino and Indo-caramel in this one. And if you bred it to an albino that has albino on both sides, when you match those up, half your babies are going to be albinos, the other half are going to be orange glows in every clutch. So you'll get some kind of albino, but it'll either be albino or orange glow, about 50-50.
That sounds like a nice clutch.
It would be, yeah.
I would absolutely love to see a super dwarf that is 50% Anri Calatoa, 25% Anri Jampea, and 15% Anri Carrampa, and then finally 10% for the morph coloration of albino motley golden child. Is that at all possible to even make?
Wow, you got dreams. The 50% or 15% is kind of a weird percentage because what you do is you kind of like chop the locality percentage in half because of that averages that we were talking about every time you breed out.
So really,
so if you start with 100% of any of those localities, then you go to 50, then 25, then 12 and a half, then 6.25, and so on and so on and so on. So whatever the lower percentage is, I think they said Carrampa would be the first place to start, because then 3-4 generations later, what would it be? It'd be 50, 25, yeah, and then 12 and a half. So 3 generations later, you'd have that to 12 and a half. So you'd start with a Carrampa, and then you would have to and breed that to the mainland morph that you're trying to put in there. And then you would go to the next one they wanted was Jamp, and then the next one was Calatoa
yeah.
last, right?
Yeah.
So it is possible you're talking about 4 generations of breeding, and I think they said they wanted albino too, right?
Yeah.
Now that's recessive. Anery's recessive as well, but I think what they were going for was an albino.
Albino Motley Golden Child at that.
Yeah, so you got 2 codogs and 1 recessive in there. So to bring that albino out takes double the generation. So 8 generations and you've got it. But yes, it's possible.
Okay. You mentioned about your female cycling in your video, and I was wondering if my girl could be at the moment. The last week or so when I get her out, she is in food mode as if a rat was under her nose. Not really a problem, she soon snaps out of it. Just a bit out of character for her. Could this be seasonal cycle you spoke of?
Yeah, it definitely could. Actually, one of the reasons I really recommend that people start with a younger animal, maybe not necessarily a hatchling, but at least give yourself some time to grow an animal up, is so that you know how they act. So that if they're acting weird and it's a female and she's that age, it all starts to kind of add up. A lot of females will have a heightened appetite for a couple of months before they start producing follicles. And they just naturally want a little bit more calories because they know eggs are coming soon. So it very well could be that. It would help if you could learn how to palpate her and see if she's developing follicles. Again, if she's only doing this for a week or so, it could be like a weird fluke thing. But noticing that, changes in your females is a big way to tell you it might be time to introduce a male.
Okay, how big are dwarf and super dwarfs? Hype versus reality.
Okay, so that's a video we did a while ago, yeah.
Okay, so realistically, what is the smallest one I could get?
I think they would be in that video, actually. The smallest super dwarfs that we have are males. They would either be like a Karumpa, a Madu, or Kalatoa. If you're just getting into it, probably look more towards the Kalatoa. They're the more common. Like we have males available right now. And the smallest Kalatoa males are gonna be around 6 feet, maybe even a little bit under. Remember though, a 6-foot retic is small.
It's very small.
A 6-foot retic is smaller than a 4.5-foot ball python. And everyone goes, that doesn't make sense. That one's 6, that one's 4. But you got to remember, look how long and skinny this is. If this was a ball python, it would be that big around, and it would weigh 10 times as much. So, yeah, 6-foot retic feels like a big bull snake or something. And those might get up to 7.5 or even 8 feet if you really fed them a lot. But realistically, that's the smallest.
6 foot.
Yeah, like 6 to 8 or whatever, and then it just depends on your feeding and all that kind of stuff. So, Yep.
Feeding super dwarf retics free tip Friday, which I assume that was one of your videos.
Yep.
What is the general growth rate for a properly fed super dwarf retic? I know there will be other factors, but just in general.
Okay, this is a super dwarf anery. It looks awesome. How old is this animal? It's not this year's baby.
I'm not sure.
Let's find out. This
All
is
right.
the anery. Let's take a look. So you guys saw a 2-year-old earlier, and that was actually a dwarf super dwarf cross. That doesn't have a hatch date on there. It just says anery at purple.
I would say it's a 22 for sure.
Yeah. So, and then these guys all hatch in the spring. So this is probably a year old. So here you go. There's a yearling, and this is a super dwarf cross. Pure would probably be about that size, maybe a little smaller. And then, and then at 2 years, you're looking at the one that we were talking about there. So they're actually pretty slow growing, but they do most of their growing up front. First year, second year, they grow pretty quick, and then after that, they slow down. It takes them like 5-6 years to reach really kind of their full size.
Have you ever thought about putting out baseball cards of morphs?
That's a pretty good idea.
That's
You
a
like
pretty
that?
cool idea. I like that.
You're super into like the collectible reptile memorabilia, yeah? Yeah, that is a good idea. I think that would be cool. My personal emphasis is more like the localities, and I made like a locality poster that has all of them on there with their range and all that kind of stuff. And so that was like, I guess, my version of that, but I do like that. Baseball cards and morphs, like trading cards and stuff.
That would be cool.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah.
We should release one every time we bring a new morph into dwarf or super dwarf for the first time.
That's a great idea. I like that idea. That would be a lot of fun.
That's a good one. We'll get right on it.
Do pure locality Kalatoa super dwarf retics show up on the market anymore?
Yeah, I mean, we have them every year. You probably do have to get on a waiting list, but I will say, like right now, as in right now, we have males available currently of pure Kalatoas.
That's great.
Yeah, so if you want one, hit us up and let us know. And then I don't know about how you guys do it here at the shop, but a lot of times, like as our males approach a year old, we'll be more willing to like get a deal on them or something. So we
Sure.
have a few babies left from last year, just males, that we'd probably be willing to cut a pretty good deal on if you guys hit us up right quick and say, I want a pure Kalatoa male, what can you do?
That's great, yeah.
You guys do that. Females though, like after a year or two, I make them more money or I keep them.
Yeah.
So they're too valuable as breeders after a while.
What is motley? I keep hearing that,
Oh, you guys got one.
but no one tells me what it means.
Do you want to explain like the morph at all? You tell them?
Well, the motley is a pattern.
Yeah.
It's a pattern on the snake that goes down the dorsal.
Yeah, we actually have one right here. Lucky you. Check that out. So this is a motley, and you're right, it kind of cleans the pattern off of the sides. There's a few small side rosettes there, but you don't see nearly as much pattern on the sides as the last snake we pulled out. And it pulls all that pattern up to the dorsal, and it makes it, you'll see, they're variable, but this one's got spots. Sometimes you get bullseyes, sometimes like these right here. Sometimes you get stripes. This one's actually pretty cool. It's got like all of it in
I
one
love
snake.
that snake.
Yeah, it definitely helps put like a big, thick, heavy head stripe down the center too. And it's the key, so it's kind of, it's not really subtle, but it's not like an albino or something. But it is the key to a lot of crazy stuff. Super motleys, motley golden childs, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff that motleys make.
I think motleys look great when they're full grown. They just look stunning.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
When they're a big snake and they're motley, that's a neat snake. You
Yeah,
know?
they changed the color a lot too. It's like very clean and metallic and
It's beautiful.
yeah. So underrated morph in my opinion, but this is a motley. So it's an incomplete color or pattern mutation, sorry. And a super motley is basically a patternless chrome looking snake.
Right. Okay, this is from your video. How much does a super dwarf retic cost?
Okay.
Okay, now do a financial comparison between the super dwarf and your average cat or dog. Don't forget the toys and the vet bills. Super dwarf wins every time.
I don't think there's a question there, but I agree. Very cool.
Okay, one more question for you.
Here we go.
And that is, it's more asking you to do something, to do a video about your labeling system. Do a video about your labeling system.
So in our Patreon, we actually cover a lot of that stuff. People want to know like the workings behind the scenes and stuff of how we do reach our reptiles. So I would assume they're talking about like our baby tracking system. We have all the information on the labels and we use little shorthand, like a little dot from a Sharpie means one thing, or a date, or a star, or a circle around the label. And we have kind of shorthand that everybody in the shop can read like code.
That's cool.
So I think they're trying to crack the code. And if you guys join Patreon, you can crack the code.
Yeah. I know I do. You should too.
Very cool. All right, well that's all we got. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
No worries. I actually did this in a story, but I want to give you guys a tip about CnB. So you want to explain a little bit about why you have Reach Out Reptiles snakes here for people that might not have heard of you. CnB Reptile is a open to the public retail store in Phoenix, Arizona. Totally the other side of the US from Pittsburgh. But why do you have these snakes here? And then I'll give you guys a little tip.
I got these snakes. I started buying snakes from Garrett a while back, a couple years before we opened this shop, and Garrett and I got to know each other, and I had asked him, and he had a lot of input on this shop, and when we were building it and putting it together, and he had asked me, or I had actually asked him if we could sell his retics in the shop. And of course he said no. And I had an idea about trying to really help cross promote each other and have a place where people could come get Reach Out Reptiles and their hands on them. And I thought it was a fantastic idea, and I pitched it to Garrett one final time, and he said, let's do it.
Yeah, so we actually came down here, trained all their staff how to take care of, like, I didn't necessarily like the idea of having Reach Out Reptiles snakes in just any old pet store, but this isn't just any old pet store. But they actually have some advantages to buying a Reach Out Reptile snake than going to Reach Out Reptiles. And like, this is one such advantage. This is a dwarf tiger female that's Posset, albino, and anery. Guys, this snake is 2 years old. We don't sell 2-year-old females like this at Reach Out Reptiles. So
Right.
CnB has some little sneaky stuff hiding in the back rooms over here. When you can't get it anymore, you'd have to get on a waiting list or whatever, because Bill bought it, kept it special, raised it up for you, and it's ready to rock. So if you ever can't find anything from us, you'll have to definitely check at CnB Reptile. Well, Bill, thank you so much for doing this, buddy. I appreciate you having me on and everything like that.
Awesome.
You guys have to check them out. You guys can follow CnB Reptiles on Instagram.
Absolutely.
And say hey to Bill and tell him good job. Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.